the future.
Faster and cheaper.
I absolutely love this idea. Bring it on.
We are in the age of innovation.
When everyone has access to a global market, great ideas flourish.
He is either a visionary or he's barking mad.
Want to go to Mars?
Mars One invites you to join us.
And is this a good idea?
Plastic guns you could make in your own home.
This ought to be stopped.
Politicians are also threatened by money they can't control.
Bitcoin is the first decentralized digital currency.
Will technology, freedom, prevail?
You talk about things that could transform life as we know it.
Innovation Nation. That's our show tonight.
And now, John Stossel.
The iPhone is now just 6 years old. Already, I take it for granted. I take it for granted that I can press a button on my keychain and start a car. And then to find out how to get where I'm supposed to be going, my GPS system talks to me.
Now turn right.
I don't even think about that being special anymore. I take it for granted that I can cook my food in minutes. That disabled people now have better ways of getting around. So what innovations are coming next? James Canton should know. He makes his living as a futurist. He started the Institute for Global Studies. So what's next?
What's next is robots that clean your house and also find businesses and new customers for you. Also, maybe you'll piggyback on the Hyperloop and be selling transit tickets through e-commerce. So what's next is nanotechnology, computers, robotics. Really, the limits are unlimited. The barriers are not even there for the entrepreneurs of the future.
So you mentioned the Hyperloop. Let's not assume people know what you're talking about. This is from this entrepreneur Elon Musk, who you're impressed by. He's done good things?
Absolutely. This fellow is really has the DNA of Silicon Valley. He's the next generation, if you will, Steve Jobs. Also, he's behind Tesla, the first commercially available electric car. Very successful company. His stock is climbing. He's doing something right.
But let's break this down. You talk about Tesla, and the stock is going up. But you worked for Steve Jobs. Before you call Musk the new Steve Jobs, he's getting government handouts for a car that costs $60,000 to $100,000. It's a toy for rich people, subsidized with $7,000 tax credits from not-so-rich people. What's great about that?
Well, keep in mind that he didn't really need the billion and change loan from the government. He did pay that back. You know, he's also his first innovative breakthrough was PayPal. So he's an early PayPal inventor. He's part of the folks that really disrupted the banking industry. He didn't need that money, but he did borrow that money, and paying back that money, he had people lining up to invest. The reason the stock is going up is because they're selling more Teslas than they can make and keep up with manufacturing. And though it may be a rich man's toy today, I drove one recently, I can tell you that they're coming out with a new SUV model that's going to be half the price. And again, a lot of innovations, whether they're computers or whether they're robots or you name it, even the internet starts out being expensive, and then guess what? The mass market takes over, numerous entrepreneurs end up innovating, and that price point comes down, down, down for the masses.
Just to push back, you're saying they're selling all these cars. 21,000 Teslas is all they've sold. Toyota sold almost 10 million cars. Kia sells 2.5 million. That's 130 times more cars. I think this is a government-subsidized scam for rich people.
Well, it may turn out to be that, but for all intents and purposes, I think he has pioneered a new way forward. His next car is going to be half the price. I've seen models of it. Looks very interesting. But you're right. Let's see if he can deliver.
And at least entrepreneurs are spending their own money, unlike government, which spends other people's money. Explain Hyperloop. It's like a vacuum tube for humans?
It's going to be a combination, probably driven by electric and solar. They will be tubes, if you will, but think about them more like cars, where you're going to have 4 to 10 folks inside of a capsule, and it will move very quickly like a bullet train through a system that may give you accelerated speed that's safe and, quite frankly, may deliver. The price tag is not small. You're talking about $6 to $8 billion.
Well, the stupid California, San Francisco, Los Angeles train is already up to $100 billion.
That's correct. He could be creating a new category here with Hyperloop. He's testing the waters. Let's see what he does.
You futurists like to think about outer space. Let's talk about that. People once assumed that only government would or could build the rockets that are required to bring people into outer space. And it was NASA that got Americans to the moon. But that was more than 40 years ago. And in the remaining 40 years, they haven't done much. But several years ago, an entrepreneur offered a prize, $10 million to anyone who could launch men into space twice within 2 weeks. One company quickly succeeded, and they spent much less than NASA spent. And now a company called SpaceX, run by Elon Musk, has invented technologies that make launching rockets much cheaper, and it makes money doing that.
SpaceX continues America's mission to resupply the International Space Station from U.S. soil.
So why is this a breakthrough?
Well, I think the private space industry represents, and space itself as a commercial opportunity, represents a tremendous new opportunity for entrepreneurs, for new products, new services, certainly jobs, and being developed, invented, and deployed from the United States gives us a chance to be able to reinvent an entirely new kind of industry. So by even NASA being a customer for SpaceX, and
that's how they make their money. They sell things to NASA.
Well, not just to NASA, but quite frankly, they've got other governments and private sector organizations that are now recognizing, gee, you know, we'd like to take a look at how we could commercialize space. Keep in mind, lots of other folks are looking at space tourism, such as Virgin Galactic and other folks. But in this case, I think that Musk, with SpaceX, he's demonstrated that he can put a rocket into space. He's delivered 2 payloads now. He's eventually moving towards commercial payloads, and I think it's going to open up a whole new category for commercializing space. And what are the businesses? Keep in mind, a lot of people don't understand, you could make certain pharmaceuticals, you could make certain materials, you can make certain products in zero gravity that you can't make on Earth.
When you talk about computers doing more, that makes me think about Watson, the IBM computer that went on the quiz show Jeopardy.
This is Watson.
Could the computer beat the best humans?
Pitting an IBM computer system against the 2 most celebrated and successful players in Jeopardy history.
Watson cleaned their clocks.
Who is Michael Phelps?
Yes.
What is staggering genius?
That's right.
And now you say we're soon going to see robots that act like doctors?
Well, I would like to have the best decisions made about my health when I go to the hospital, wouldn't you? That's what Watson's trying to do, is really to be a decision support enterprise to help doctors and hospitals understand disease better through big data and data analysis, but also to be able to help them make better care decisions that are going to relate to whether you should have a certain drug or maybe you shouldn't.
Well, thank you, James. I hope we do show that it's possible. We've been talking about, and we've seen rockets launching people into orbit. What if you want to go farther, much farther, maybe to Mars? That will supposedly be possible in just 10 years.
From now on, we won't just be visiting planets. You will be staying.
Inhabitants wanted for Mars in 10 years? Yes, says Bas Lansdorp. He's the Dutch entrepreneur who started Mars One, a foundation that plans to land people on Mars by the year 2023. Come on.
It sounds very ambitious when you first hear it, but when you realize the difference between permanent settlement, so sending humans there to stay, and trying to get humans from Mars back to Earth, then you realize why that's really what makes it possible. Because We don't have the technology to send humans from Mars back to Earth, but we have all the technology to get humans to Earth orbit, fly them to Mars, land them on Mars, and keep them alive there.
And people are signing up, 165,000 people, and paying actual money?
Yeah, this is something that I think people have been waiting for this for so long. You've said it, it's been more than 40 years since humans walked on the moon, and not much has happened since then.
And all these people, they pay a fee, $38 if you're from the United States.
That's right. Yeah. So not all 165,000 people have paid a fee. We have we see the fee as a first selection round where people self-select. Do I feel confident enough? Am I good enough? Do I really want this?
To go?
Well, it's not as a tourist. You really go there to live. So you're a Mars inhabitant. You'll be trained 7 years before you leave, and it's going to be your job for the rest of your life.
And you base it on the economy of the country they're from?
We don't want to finance this mission through application fees. That's impossible. So we make the fees so that people have to think about it. $38 in the US is enough to have to think about it, but not so much that anyone cannot afford it.
If you're from the Congo, it's just $5. If you're from the Middle East country of Qatar, it's $75. Well, without the fees, how are you going to pay for it?
The world has been waiting for this. So we are already getting donations from all over the world. We're talking to a few high net worth individuals who are interested in supporting us.
Donations, not government funding?
No, we're not interested in receiving government funding.
Why not?
Well,
and good for you.
Well, in principle, we would have nothing against it, but as soon as governments give, they also want something back. And we don't want governments to involve who we are sending to Mars.
Buzz, thank you very much. I hope you succeed. Coming up, you can now print a gun at home. Special correspondent Kennedy, check that out. Also, dictators are now overthrown with the help of social media, like Twitter. How could libertarians use social media to explain liberty? That's next.
Oh, you're one of those libertarian folks. Isn't that so cute?
Liberty, limited government, works, brings out the best in people. It allows prosperity. It's great. But people don't get that. How do we convince them? Well, Matt Kibbe tries. He runs FreedomWorks, and one thing they do is run Facebook posts like this one, alerting people to the fact that Congress passes bills without reading them and then exempts its own staffers from the law. That post was seen by almost 2 million people, and that's not unusual for FreedomWorks posts. Julie Borowski posts YouTube videos about liberty, and they are viewed by hundreds of thousands of people. So, Julie, I'll start with you. Why did you start doing this?
I started because I care about freedom and liberty, and I want to...
Well, let me back it up there. Why did you care?
I care about it because I want to be able to do whatever I want to do as long as I do not harm another person. And I found out about libertarianism through the internet, through Google. And
you were a conservative.
I was actually a neoconservative. I'm embarrassed about that fact.
And then through the internet, you read about liberty, libertarianism, and said, I want to help spread this movement?
I knew so many young people who were politically apathetic. They said, I'm not a conservative, because so many conservative people, they talk about big government foreign policy, war, legislating morality, and you know, the left always talks about taxes and spending. Where do I fit? I want young people to decide that I'm actually a libertarian.
And you noticed this YouTube thing and said, I can do that?
Yeah. I would just start a YouTube channel in my bedroom by myself. I didn't know much about technology. I didn't really know anyone important. I didn't have much money. I just put a YouTube channel up.
And a few people would watch, and then more and more. How many now?
It started off pretty slow because you have to build up. But now, yeah, a lot of people watch it. I don't know why, but they do.
Well, let me show you another sample of her work. Plenty of Americans, including me, which annoys some libertarians, are not that angry about the NSA spying. So here's part of a video that Julie did that's gotten more than 100,000 views.
When did the government become a jealous girlfriend? I need to know who you are talking to at all times. Some people have it apparently in their minds that, oh, privacy, that's for terrorists and cheating boyfriends. We all have things we want to keep to ourselves or with a small group of people. When government is snooping, you lose choice, control, and freedom.
So people watch that and then they can respond on YouTube and there are conversations.
Yeah, actually, I responded to you on Twitter about the NSA. And we had a bit of a debate because you said that it wasn't a big deal, but I think it is because I'm not really doing anything wrong, but I shouldn't be treated like a criminal by my own government.
And for the record, I don't like it. I just had 100 other things that I hated about my government.
Well, I do too.
So you have a think tank. You want to explain liberty to people, spread these ideas. In the old days, you might have paid a lot of money for an ad. You could have tried to lobby politicians. You got new options now.
I think the internet changes everything, and it really decentralizes the way people get their information. It lowers the barriers to entry when you think about what's going on in Washington, D.C., and all these insiders sneaking around behind closed doors. Now we know what's going on, and we can share it in a moment's notice, and all of a sudden, 1 million people are engaged in a conversation that used to happen with nobody noting.
But you do a lot of it on Twitter, and you mentioned tweeting me. And, you know, that's not, how is that a conversation? That's just a couple words.
Well, Twitter's a conversation. Actually, there's people on our staff that don't know how to communicate beyond 140 characters, and maybe that's a problem. But the old problem, the old think tank problem, is we would write 40-page white papers that nobody read, that nobody saw. So this is a way to engage people. And you start with a tweet, you have a conversation, but at some point, you start to dig deeper into the ideas of liberty. You start to read, at some point, maybe even read that 40-page white paper.
And you have some 21,000 Twitter followers. You have 130,000 at FreedomWorks, but just by yourself, 20,000 people. Now, some of the are not fans, so you get some hate mail.
Oh, definitely. There's a lot of trolls on the internet that post hateful comments, but I actually think it's good because people that are not libertarians are paying attention to my videos and my Twitter account. They may, you know, learn something.
Well, that's the goal. And for people out there, you have tips on social media how to spread these ideas?
Don't overpost. We found that 3 times a day produces the highest level of engagement with our activists. And think about the multiplier effect. Of the people you touch, all of their friends then engage in that conversation. There's about 1 billion people on Twitter. So we as libertarians finally have that opportunity to potentially connect all the people that share these basic values in a way that's effective, in a way that lowers their costs, in a way that really engages people.
All right, well, on this show, I'm trying to learn how to use social media, and on the bottom left of the screen, about here, there's this thing called a hashtag, and in this case, it's innovation. This means you who are watching the show can use that hashtag to talk to other viewers about how wrong I am or how wonderfully insightful we are. And in fact, anyone on Twitter writing about innovation anywhere in the world can connect through that if they search the hashtag innovation. So why is this a big deal?
All of a sudden, everybody in the world that's on Twitter, about 500,000 people, can connect if they're following that phrase innovation. You can have a conversation with people who didn't know that they believed the same things you did until we had that opportunity.
And Twitter has links, so if you really want to read the Milton Friedman or Hayek, it can help take you there.
It's a gateway drug. Pretty soon you're reading Human Action cover to cover.
Well, I have to say I could never get through Human Action. Thank you, Matt and Julie. Coming up, how innovation gives us new things to do, like escaping inflation and even reviving your favorite TV show after it's canceled.
This is it. This is our chance to make the Veronica Mars movie happen. If we reach our fundraising goal, we'll shoot the movie this summer.
Now, I hate it that my government steals my savings. How do they do that? Well, I put some of these guys in the bank. I saved every year, so I'd have a nest egg. But what does my government do? It prints more of these things, so many more that I fear I may have to pay for retirement with something like this. This is a Billion-dollar bill, B, billion. It's from Zimbabwe. So, okay, our dollar hasn't been devalued this much, but I'm worried about my future. So how can I hedge against inflation and other government manipulation? Well, one thing I did was to buy Bitcoins. What are they? Well, I'm glad you asked.
Bitcoins are digital coins you can send through the internet. You can use them in every country. Your account cannot be frozen. Bitcoin is changing finance the same way the web changed publishing.
Maybe that was made by a company that promotes Bitcoins. So how Bitcoins work exactly is hard to get your brain around. So here to try to explain is Jerry Brito of the Mercatus Center. So what happens?
Well, first thing you have to understand is that Bitcoins are not sort of owned by a company. They're not controlled by anybody. It's a new internet protocol like email or the web. And it's a digital decentralized currency that allows you to exchange money with anybody in the world fast and cheaply without the use of a third party like PayPal or Visa or MasterCard.
Created by a lot of different, supposedly anonymous computers?
Well, so everybody who is part of the network, and it's a peer-to-peer network, contributes their computing capacity to discovering new Bitcoins, and at the same time, they reconcile all the transactions that are transmitted over the network.
And there's this formula that creates Bitcoins, but there's a limit on the total number automatically?
The total number of Bitcoin that will ever exist is 21 million, and that will probably get there around the year 2040. And so that makes Bitcoin a deflationary currency. There's no central bank that can make more of them.
How do I know some clever kid on a computer won't just make 1 million Bitcoins?
Because of cryptography, basically, is the answer. Now, there's been many experts who have tried to crack the Bitcoin code and have been unable to do so. And so far, it's been perfectly stable.
You mentioned PayPal.
Yeah.
Why not use that instead?
So to me, that's really the exciting part about Bitcoin, is that for the first time, you and I can transact without a third party, right? So until the invention of Bitcoin, if I wanted to send you $100, we had to use something like PayPal, Visa, MasterCard. They would deduct $100 from my account, and they would add it to yours. And at the end of the day, everything would reconcile to zero. Bitcoin allows you and me to transact with nobody between us. Why would we do that? Because these are central points of control for government regulation. And you and I may want to engage in a transaction that is frowned upon, or that is prohibited, or we want some privacy.
And government could still find out about it.
Ultimately, they may be able to find us and punish us, but they can't prevent that transaction from taking place in the first place.
They may find us if we get something shipped in the mail. They may be able to follow the mail. And there's this website Silk Road where people are buying illegal things, drugs.
That's right. Silk Road is a dark web website, so it's protected by encryption. Nobody knows where it is. It's been running for about 2 years, kind of with impunity. It's estimated that they make about $20 million in sales a year, and you can buy just about anything on Silk Road using Bitcoin.
They won't sell guns.
They won't sell guns. They won't sell anything that harms anybody, right? So they won't sell child pornography. They won't sell guns. They won't sell anything of that nature.
And, I mean, we agree that drugs only harm the users sometimes, and it's personal choice. But what do you say to my wife who says, this is just not good? One reason we have government is to protect people from this kind of stuff. That's why we have laws.
Right, and I think that law enforcement is right now looking at going after Silk Road and going after these companies, and they probably will be successful, in my opinion, because as I mentioned earlier, Bitcoin is not completely anonymous. But you have to understand that criminals can use cash to accomplish the same things, and actually, Silk Road is a drop in the bucket of the total global drug trade. What you have to keep in mind is that there are some things that are illegal or frowned upon that we do want to allow people to engage in. And Bitcoin,
like?
Well, if you wanted to go get a mental health screening, you didn't want your employer to know or your spouse to know, you could use something like Bitcoin to do that anonymously. If you wanted to contribute to WikiLeaks, after Cablegate, if you wanted to make a contribution to WikiLeaks as an American, you couldn't do that because PayPal, MasterCard, Bank of America froze WikiLeaks accounts and did not allow you to make a transfer to them. If they had been accepting Bitcoins, there's nothing that could be done there.
But the regulators now say, we're going to regulate this stuff.
What's interesting about Bitcoin is
You've gone to meetings with them where they've discussed this.
That's right. They cannot regulate the Bitcoin network. Now, they can regulate users of the network, and they can regulate businesses that facilitate the transfer of value. But if you and I just wanted to exchange dollars for Bitcoin, we could do that without any intermediary between us that the government could regulate.
And I should point out that one government has made it clear it views Bitcoin as a legal alternative currency, and that's Germany.
Put down that sauerkraut, because what I'm about to tell you is going to blow your Hefeweizen out of your lederhosen.
Germany will view Bitcoin as a form of private money, meaning it could tax profits made by Bitcoin companies.
That's from a website called SourceFeed. What does that mean?
A parliamentarian in Germany asked the central bank there to give a ruling on Bitcoin, and they said what everybody expects them to say, which is it's private money. And that legitimizes a bit, and it allows them to start thinking about the tax implications. In this country, we haven't seen that sort of guidance from the IRS yet, but I think we'll see it pretty soon.
And they'll say it's okay, you think?
I think they'll say it's okay because private money has traditionally been okay in the U.S. If you think about Berkeley bucks or Brooklyn bucks, you can exchange private money. It's just about the capital gains that they're going to be concerned about.
Well, I hope so, because as I said, I bought some, and I look at the price of Bitcoins since they've been introduced. Boy, I wish I'd bought them last year, where they would have appreciated a great deal. But lately, they've been going up, so who knows? Thank you, Jerry. Up next, I asked Kennedy to go to Texas to check out those guns that you can print in your home. Printing guns, though, makes people nervous.
Just press print and out pops an iPhone case made from powdered nylon, 18-karat gold ring, and even a replica of a multi-million-dollar Stradivarius violin.
You've heard about the new 3D printing. It lets you create all kinds of things right at home, including some remarkable things.
A team of engineers at the University of Toronto have developed a 3D printer that could dispense human skin to help burn victims. An engineer in Canada recently successfully built a 3D printed car.
Wonderful! Except 3D printing upsets some people because if you can print a car, you can print a gun. And in Texas, Cody Wilson did just that. He called his printed gun the Liberator. Special correspondent Kennedy went to visit him.
So this is the functional Liberator without a barrel and without a firing pin. When you pull the trigger, the hammer strikes.
Okay, there it is. That is the 3D printed gun assembled before our very eyes.
Yeah.
Can I shoot it? Is it safe?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna back off. You pull the trigger when you feel like it, all right?
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
It didn't work?
It did not work. And it felt like a bad April Fool's
Work
prank.
in progress. Also, why are you holding the gun in such a strange way?
It's funny you say that. My brother was a shooting instructor, and he would vomit if he saw that video. He's watching right now. Hi, Brian. There's a nail in there that acts as a firing pin, and that gun is so unstable. He told me to hold it as far away from my face and body as possible so the nail didn't go in my eye, even though I was wearing protection.
And he was backing way off.
Yeah, which freaked me out.
All right, but they have worked in the past, these printed guns that he made. He got 9 shots off one of them before it broke.
Yeah, he said that's the most he's ever had, and you don't get a lot of bang for your buck. This is not
the buck is just $50. It's only $50 in materials it'll cost, and this will get better. It shows that anybody can print it. Will soon be able to print a gun at home for $50.
And that's what he wanted to do, and with a simple printer in a small space, he has changed the debate.
He did give you another weapon, partially printed, and had some metal parts, and that did work.
I shot a gun with 3D parts. Look, Ma. My mom would be so proud.
There's a magazine on that gun that holds 30 bullets. Some politicians want to ban these, but what does a ban mean when you can print one?
This magazine is cheap to make. Anyone can make it. This is now with us forever, all right? And some political program of prohibiting this is no longer effective.
And that threatens people because it shows that so-called gun control is an illusion. You asked Cody for reassurance about that. He said this.
I'm not there for that. I'm your full-service provocateur, right? Here's the printed gun. I'm not here to make you feel better about it. I'm here to say, look, this space is occupied. Deal with it.
So he's the libertarian?
He calls himself a crypto-anarchist, which is basically an anarchist who's really good with computers.
He's not the only one who's made these guns.
No, other people have made guns, and from what I saw, having shot the AR-15 and trying to shoot the Liberator, the AR-15 parts, the parts that are banned, that will be the practical and popular application. You'll see more people printing parts of guns that they cannot get.
Cody isn't secretive about sharing his discoveries. He put the plans for the Liberator on the internet. The State Department then ordered him take it down, and he did. But by then, 100,000 people had downloaded it. So the plans are out there. Government can't stop this, and that upsets politicians and liberal pundits.
This ought to be stopped.
In your anarchist utopia, government will wither and die on the vine, and we will all self-govern ourselves. Without government, we can move forward into a well-armed anarchist utopia where everybody fends for themselves with stupid-looking plastic guns that sometimes blow up after one shot. It's a political effort to try to do away with government.
Political effort to do away with government?
I mean, he does call himself an anarchist, but really he considers himself a provocateur who is moving the discussion forward. And, you know, you can't shovel the toothpaste back in the horse.
Can't put the toothpaste back in the horse?
I'm trying to keep it clean because I know this is a family show, John Stossel.
Finally, since Cody was the first to do this, you ask him if he's worried about being arrested.
Whenever you hear sirens, do you just assume they're coming for you? Because I do.
Look, we have had real situations of surveillance with cops sitting outside my apartment for months on end and like knowing that we were being surveilled. I mean, it's just something you accept. I just assume when they want me, they'll get me.
He won't be surprised if he goes to prison, but he's doing whatever he can to stay within the law.
But why would he go to prison? What law has he broken?
Because guns are bad, and they will make new laws to make sure whatever he's doing is illegal.
Thank you, Kennedy. Coming up, how innovation now lets us, even on our own little phones, find out right here how government wastes our money. My biggest fear for America is that politicians will spend us broke. They now grab more than $3 trillion every year. We can barely keep track of what they've spent. Can innovation help us here? Yes, says Adam Andrzejewski. He started a website called openthebooks.com. Adam, how does that work?
Well, at openthebooks.com, it is our mission to post online every dime taxed and spent at the federal, state, and local levels.
Now, in 2006, there was a Google Your Government Act that said, hey, this stuff has to be out there.
That's right. It was nonpartisan legislation. It was Tom Coburn, the U.S. Senator from Oklahoma on the right, and it was the Illinois Senator at the time, Barack Obama, and they got together on this really good legislation, and they posted the federal checkbook. That's the data that we downloaded, reorganized, and then uploaded into our data commons for the federal checkbook.
So that was enough, but they didn't make it easy to sort through that.
Right. We think that we've reorganized and displayed that data to help regular people for the first time ever in their hometown, in their zip code, be able to see the massive money flows coming out of Washington, D.C. And when you see the massive amount of federal spending in your locale, the most common response is, oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong business.
And you tried to figure out your locale. You live in Illinois. And before this, it took 26 separate Freedom of Information Act requests to find out what your city manager cost taxpayers?
We explored 2 years ago one city manager in Illinois in a village called Palatine, and he had 26 buckets of compensation. It took us 22 separate requests.
And in Illinois alone, you were able to find 3,000 bureaucrats who make more money than every governor of every state?
That's right. So I call them the lucky 3,000. And collectively, at total taxpayer cost, unbelievably, they clean off $1 billion a year. So it's park district administrators out-earning the state directors of parks. It's school district treasurers out-earning the state treasurer. It is 47 city and village managers out-earning every governor of the 50 states. And, John, that pales in comparison to the 400 school superintendents and administrators out-earning every governor of the 50 states.
Just to pick some examples, Thomas Morris, the general counsel of the Waukegan school system, makes $229,000 base pay. William Volk manages the mass transit in Champaign County, $286,000 a year. He did call us back. He says, and I deserve the money.
Well, public service in Illinois is being corrupted, obviously. Volk has a triple in pay over the last 10 years, and this is why your national audience is impacted by it. This mass transit district in Champaign got $16 million worth of federal grants. So you, the taxpayer across the country, are subsidizing this nearly $300,000 pensionable salary for this guy.
Now, maybe he deserves it. He can argue it. At least now we know about it and we can have that argument.
That's right. And there's been real change, policy change, that has resulted from our transparency on salaries in Illinois. We highlighted a school district treasurer a year ago, and his base pay went from $163,000 to $297,000 in 1 year. The citizens started asking questions, and I'm proud to say that last week he was just indicted for allegedly stealing $1.5 million.
They always want more. You also checked out subsidies near your hometown. You found a Lamborghini dealership that got a $1.5 million federal loan and then shut down.
And I'd feel better about it if I was actually driving one.
A Rolex dealer got $3.5 million from the SBA.
This is spreading the wealth to the wealthy, and this is the kind of legal but stupid spending that needs to be reined in.
Now, it's only because of technology like this that we know that the farm subsidies are going to rich people like Ted Turner and Michelle Bachmann's family. And
well, here in New York City, $500,000 has flowed into the Rockefeller family on farm subsidies.
You have this map that shows all the people outside this studio within 5 miles. There are no farms here, but they're getting farm subsidies.
And we find this in a 5-mile radius around the White House, a 5-mile radius around Fox headquarters here in Manhattan. This is not about the family farm. What it is about are wealthy investors that have made the farm subsidies and government programs part of their investment plan.
This is your latest thing. It's on phones.
And I'm asking citizens across the country to simply key their zip code into the free app and open the books and see where the federal government is spending your tax dollar.
Something for you to do. And thank you, Adam. Good luck. Let's see what happens with that coming up. Some fear new technology, but I'm more fearful of something that stops it. Stops good things like this. I'll explain next. The novel, 1984, scared people. Innovation in technology might lead to government spying on us everywhere, in bedrooms. Big Brother could watch. And now we've learned that in real life, the NSA might already be listening.
That phone in your pocket right now might be a government spying device.
Scary. New technologies can be abused. But the fear of innovation is often ridiculous. The media wail that the internet will make us stupid, that it will kill serious journalism and kill creativity.
It's a dark underbelly of technology. We are stilting a lot of creativity with this technology dependency.
The downside of the internet, the only news delivery system we've ever had that has no editor.
Well, that's true, but I say stop whining. Overwhelmingly, innovation brings us good things. Today, anywhere in the world, I can put this piece of plastic into a wall and money will come out. I take it for granted, but it is amazing, and the count is always accurate. Government couldn't do that. Government can't even count votes accurately. Instead, government often gets in the way of new technology. I cannot drive this wonderful amphibious car to work because government regulation won't allow it. Government regulators delayed driverless cars and stifled those wonderful websites which allow people to make money by sharing your house or your car. And regulators banned wonderful things like prediction markets. They shut in-trade down. By contrast, private innovation gives us miracles that we don't even think about. eBay and Craigslist and Facebook. We take free encyclopedias for granted now. We don't think twice about the miracle that today most everyone has access to all the world's knowledge on a little phone. Once, if you wanted to find out if a product or restaurant was any good, you'd have to ask a friend or wait for a local newspaper to review it or just guess. Now there's crowdsourcing. You just go to websites like Yelp or Urban Spoon and, you know, instantly, much more. Want to be a Hollywood producer? Crowdfunding lets you get around those once all-powerful movie studios. When the TV show Veronica Mars was canceled, the star went to the internet.
This is our chance to make the Veronica Mars movie happen.
91,000 people donated, enough money to make a Veronica Mars movie. Now Spike Lee and Adam Carolla will crowdfund their next movies. Innovations changed the way we reach out and touch people. When I was a kid, it was a big deal, expensive to call someone far away.
Don't let those new friends get away. A telephone call now and then will bring them closer. They're waiting to hear from you.
Now, though, for free, we can do video chats all the way to the other side of the world. The internet's even helped people find love.
When you want to find someone who is truly, uniquely right for you,
a University of Chicago study says 35% of new marriages now start online. In a free market, a symphony of desires come together, and they're then met by people who constantly rack their brains to invent solutions to our desires. And this innovation is just wonderful. I rarely fear new technology. I fear government getting in its way. Let's not let it. That's our show. See you next week. Good night.